Today I'm going to be talking about how I turned my frustration into more self-love. It's important for me to talk about this because I've noticed that we tend to really ignore ourselves and our emotions. This is something that we just learned through being children, with having adults in our lives that don't know how to process their own emotions. I can give you guys an example. Maybe you've seen this somewhere. Say you're at a restaurant, you hear a child crying, and you see that the parent gives them like an iPad or something to play with. So that way they can be distracted and occupied, rather than actually understand like why they're upset and help them process their emotions. So with time, we just learn how to distract ourselves because it tends to feel better to watch a movie or binge watch Netflix shows rather than feeling the emotion that's underneath all those layers. It's easier to just put a band-aid over it and distract ourselves. For me, distraction comes in the form of binge watching shows on Netflix, eating more sugar than usual, going to bed late. So if you are already going through a healing journey, then more than likely you've started to put together some little rituals or a little routine that helps you process your day in a more balanced way. However, we can't always just be in balance, because if we don't fall out of balance, then we're not going to learn what it is that we still need to work on within ourselves. So I had learned to cultivate a simple but effective routine that really worked for me in regards to keeping me in balance and staying in alignment with my Dharma. But suddenly, one day, I was asked to help participate in a project. And this project had a deadline. It was a house project, so basically I was helping paint the inside walls and their ceiling. After agreeing to this project, slowly but surely, everything that I had cultivated in my routine started to no longer be a priority. And as time progressed, I started to see my house get progressively messier. I started to stay up later. I stopped working out. I stopped stretching. I stopped my entire routine, actually, because in place of that routine, I was doing something completely different, which was working on this house project. And this is something that I would never be aware of before, because in the past I was extremely unconscious, but through healing, you become more aware of yourself. So it was really hard for me to ignore the fact that my house was progressively getting messier and disorganized, and that I was not going to bed at the time that normally works best for me, and that I wasn't exercising anymore, and all of these things that I just stopped doing. I started to feel very frustrated, but I didn't realize that the frustration wasn't with people that were around me, because that's how I was perceiving it. I was like so annoyed and like frustrated with everybody else around me, rather than realizing that, oh, like I'm frustrated with myself. So when I finally took the time to understand that I was frustrated with myself, I was like, okay, I can't go on with feeling frustrated and doing nothing about it and just progressively seeing my house get messier with time, because I'm so tired with this project that I don't want to come home and like clean or do any of the things that typically help me feel better. So here's tip number 1. Ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? Rather than judging other people and assuming that you feel a certain way because of them, know that it's probably something within you. Because at the end of the day, we are all a reflection of each other. So if a certain person is making you feel frustrated, it's probably because you feel frustrated with yourself, and it was never actually because of them, but they triggered that within you and they made you feel it even more. It's very easy to look outside rather than in. So tip number 1 is ask yourself how you're feeling. Tip number 2 is realize that it's time to look inward rather than outward. So how did I get over that? Writing is very healing for me. And that was another thing that I had stopped doing. I stopped prioritizing my time to journal. I finally decided that I had enough of this intense emotion because it was really overtaking my mind. I was not even able to sleep at night because I was overthinking a lot of things. So I turned to writing in my journal. I finally decided that I had enough and that it was time to do the things that make me feel better. And the simplest thing that I could do in that moment was just make time to journal. I decided to just start writing about how I felt in that moment. Literally, I was just writing, I feel frustrated with this person, I feel frustrated with this, I feel frustrated with that. And then it got down to the real truth, which was, I'm frustrated with myself because I haven't been cleaning my house, I haven't been working out, I haven't been eating right, I haven't been stretching. They're just examples of all the things I was writing down, and I was really beating myself up over every single one of these things. So tip number 3 is know what's gonna help you feel better. Know what helps you heal. Again, for me, writing very much helps me heal. And that's when the magic happened. After that, after I wrote everything down, after I wrote every single frustration that I had within myself, suddenly I started to feel like I unclogged the sink. I started to feel like new energy was coming through. Like I was able to allow the frustration to leave my body, and all the channeled information from my higher self was now able to reach me. So that's all it took. So the next thing that I did after clearing my blocked channel to my higher self, I decided to write all the things that I did do, that I did appreciate about myself. I was looking at all the things that I wasn't doing. All of a sudden I felt the need to focus my attention now on the things that I was doing, on the things that I was accomplishing, on the little things that I did appreciate about myself. So the way I pictured it, because I feel like this is very much inner child healing, I imagined myself as a little girl. And then I imagined myself now as the adult that I am. I saw the little girl trying to do her best, trying to enjoy the moment, trying to be herself. And then me as the adult could not see her at all. Instead, I was seeing all the things that she wasn't doing. Rather than appreciating her doing her best and learning and just trying to be more of herself. Instead, I was like picking on her, telling her like, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, like I can't believe you can't do this, I can't believe all these like horrible things. And it was adding a lot of pressure onto my inner child and frustration and sadness. I then started to realize like, wow, I've been really mean to myself. I've really not been noticing that she actually helped participating in that house project and helping paint the walls and the ceiling and doing things that she's never been able to do before, and doing it with fun and actually just simply enjoying her life. I completely ignored that aspect of myself, the part of me that was trying to have fun and enjoy the moment. Instead, I was just beating myself up with everything I wasn't doing. So when I finally decided to write down all the things that I was doing, I was like, wow, I actually had fun for the first time in a very long time on my birthday back in January. Or, wow, I actually really enjoyed painting those walls and that ceiling. Like that in itself was a huge accomplishment. I can't believe I actually was able to enjoy that. So tip number 4 is, after allowing yourself to process the frustration, how you're feeling, make time to appreciate your inner child and appreciate where you're at right now in your life and what it is that you're trying to do. Encourage yourself. Just because you fell off the wagon doesn't mean you can't get back up and have fun again. Maybe even falling off the wagon was part of the fun, rather than trying to do everything perfectly and not getting off balance. I think we're supposed to learn how to have fun with falling, how to enjoy that and embrace the fall and learn from it. Now that I've taken that little detour of my life, now I can use that as momentum to throw me in the direction even farther than I was before towards my goals. So tip number 4 is make time to appreciate yourself. Appreciate and think about your inner child. Try to see the aspects of yourself and the things that you've been ignoring. Just really honoring where you're at right now in your life and honoring what it is that you're trying to do rather than noticing all of the negative. It's time to notice the positive things and tune in to the heart-centered energy within those happy feelings and emotions. So tip number 5 is tune into your heart energy. If any of that sounds like you and you tend to be frustrated with yourself a lot or frustrated with other people, because a lot of times we easily see the problems with everybody else and how they're making us feel, but we don't realize that the reason why we feel like that towards them is because we feel like that towards ourselves. So if that sounds like you, it's time to look in the mirror and realize like, oh, I need to give myself attention right now. I need to actually tune into how I'm feeling, actually ask myself how I'm feeling right now, and make time for myself to just process these heavy emotions. So tip number 5 is learn how to tune into your heart. A message that I received about a year ago, maybe even longer, was bask in the energy that is you. We are not our frustration. We are not our anxiety. That doesn't feel like us. That doesn't feed us. That only limits us and makes us feel even less like ourselves because it's not us. When you suddenly start to appreciate yourself and all the things that you've done to get to the point where you're at right now in your life, that's when you really start to feel into your heart-centered energy. So that's my next point, is tune into the energy that is you. Tune into your heart. Learn how to think with your heart. Learn how to feel with your heart rather than your mind, because that is where you're gonna find your truth. That is where you're gonna find the self-love that you need to get you closer towards the direction of your goals and your dreams. It's not gonna be through the self-sabotaging thoughts. It's not gonna be through the anxiety. Maybe those elements can help us get to a breaking point so that way we can break open enough to let the light come in. But if you continue to lead with those things, you're not going to get to the points in your life that you truly want to be in. You might actually just be settling. Anyway, so after I wrote all of that and I started tuning into my heart, I felt an immediate shift in my energy. I suddenly found forgiveness in myself and appreciation and deep love. I felt completely reset. Ultimately, I felt so much better. I learned my lesson. I learned how to fix it. I learned what it is that I need to do to reset. I learned what it is that my inner child needs in order to help me feel better again. So if there's anything that I want you to take from this video today, it's learn to listen and make time for your emotions. Learn what it is that helps you feel better. And tune into your heart, because that is where your truth really is. So instead of distracting yourself and making your anxiety even worse, it's time to just tune in and make time for yourself and what it is that you need right now.